Hello students, today we will be starting with the new topic, that is New Economic Policy 1991. Now this policy was launched in the year 1991 under the leadership of P.V. Narasimha Rao government. This is also known as the LPG model of growth. Now some of the features of this New Economic Policy 1991 are that since 91, India has been following a threefold strategy of liberalization, privatization, and globalization, that is LPG. And the aim of these reforms are to modernize the country's industrial system, to remove unproductive control, to encourage private investment, including foreign investment, integrating the Indian economy with the global economy. So this policy was introduced, and now we will be studying that how this policy has an impact on the business and industry. In this video, we will be discussing first the threefold strategies, or we can say the components or elements of new economic policy, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization, which is also known as your LPG model. First element is liberalization. Now, this liberalization refers to the end of license, quota, and many more restrictions and controls which were put on industries before 1991. Now, that is relaxing rules and regulations which restrict the growth of the private sector and allowing the private sector to take part in economic activities that were earlier reserved for the government sector only. Now, we had studied this thing in class 11th also in your chapter number 3, that there were 17 sectors that were reserved for the government sector only, and later on it was reduced to 8, and now there are only 3 sectors that are reserved for the government sector only. Now, Indian companies got liberalization in the following way. So, these are few steps that were taken to adopt this liberalization policy. First is abolishing licensing except in few. That means the licensing that is required has been removed, has been abolished, except in few things. Then freedom in deciding the scale of operations. Now you can decide the scale of operation, whether you want to start your business on a large scale or small scale or medium scale. Then removal of restrictions on movement of goods and services. Freedom in fixing prices. Earlier the prices were fixed by the government only or by the industry's norms only. Now there is a freedom of fixing in prices. Then reduction in tax rates and lifting unnecessary control over the economy. Liberalization in import and exports, making it easy to attract foreign capital. So basically, liberalization is removing the unnecessary control that was there on the industries, and now after liberalization, the industries have freedom to basically do their work or to basically conduct activities on their own. Privatization. Now, this privatization refers to the reduction of the role of the public sector and giving greater role to the private sector in the economy of a country. Now, in this, there is a transfer of ownership and control from the private to the public sector, which is also known as your disinvestment. Transfer of management of the public enterprise to the private sector, and to achieve this, to execute the policy of privatization, government took the following steps. Now, first, they have adopted a policy of planned disinvestment of the public sector. As we had discussed, that disinvestment means the transfer of public sector enterprises to private sector. Then they refer the loss-making and sick units to the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction. Children, we have also studied this particular topic in class 11 chapter 3, Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstructions, and we know that sick units are those units in the public sector that are suffering losses or that are not giving the desired output. So these sick units are referred to this board, BIFR, and this board basically study that particular sick unit, and if they feel that there are certain chances, they revive that particular sick unit, and if they feel that that unit cannot be revived, so they completely shut down that particular unit and take out all the investment from that particular unit. Then dilution of stake to the government, and if private sector acquires more than 51% of shares, then it results in transfer of ownership and management to private sector. Globalization. Now, we all know that globalization means integrating the economy of a country with the economies of other countries to facilitate free flow of trade, capital, person, and technology across borders. Now, it also leads to the emergence of a cohesive global economy. That means there was a unity in the global economy. Now, till 1991, the government of India had followed a policy of strict regulating imports in value and volume terms. These regulations were with respect to licensing of imports, tariff restrictions, and quantitative restrictions. But after new government adopted a policy of globalization by taking following measures. First is import liberalization. That means the government removed many restrictions from import of capital goods. Then export promotion towards rationalization of the tariff structure, reforms with respect to foreign exchange, abolition of export duties, reduction of import duties. Then your Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, that is FERA, was replaced by Foreign Exchange Management Act, that is FEMA, FEMA. Now, as a result of globalization, the physical boundaries and political boundaries remained no barriers for business enterprises. Now, the whole world has become the global village. Globalization involves greater interaction and interdependence among the various nations of the global economy. Now, to recapitulate, in today's video, we had studied three reforms of new economic policy, that is liberalization, privatization, globalization, that is LPG. Now, liberalization is basically end of license, quota, and many more restrictions. Privatization is disinvestment or transfer of public sector enterprises to private sector and giving more importance to the private sector rather than giving importance to the public sector. Then your globalization is basically integration of various economies of the world. These are few questions that are based on the topic. I hope you all are clear with with these three reforms, that is LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. In tomorrow's class, we will be studying the impact of these reforms, that is LPG, on the business and industry. Thank you.